I want to introduce you to the law offices of Vincent W. Davis at 888-888-6582. They're advocates for the rights of parents, grandparents, and guardians in juvenile dependency courts. Losing a child to a DCFS CPS social worker based on an anonymous call, complaint, or your ex-spouse is not only horrific, but it's commonplace. Everyone will agree that there's nothing more valuable than one's child. You cannot afford to fight this alone. Call the law offices of Vincent W. Davis at 888-888-6582. Connect with an attorney today. That's 888-888-6582. Get your kids back.
Hey, you guys. I am broadcasting tonight from my car. Sorry about that. Got out of work a little bit late, and we're at a new time. So I have not been on in a little bit. So I have missed you guys. I've missed being on the show and just hearing all of your stories and how impactful it really is, like, across the nation. So I'm solo tonight. It's just me, LJ, and you. So hopefully you guys have some comments so you can carry on a conversation with me. I'm gonna kind of navigate a little bit about what I'm about to do, and that's reopen my case. So my case closed, but we agreed if I, of course, did another case plan task, that they would reopen and reunify. So I'm not expecting miracles at this point, but no, Deidre, it's me, I'm live. But I mean, I'm not expecting miracles, but I'm expecting nothing other than my child back with me. And that's exactly where he belongs. So it's kind of tough because you're given this big, thick, paperwork packet, and it seems, like daunting at first, that I have to fill out on my own, because once they close your case, they don't reappoint the attorneys. Not that I freaking needed them anyway, because what the hell did they do for me? But they don't reappoint them until I guess the case reopens. So I was given this packet of paperwork, and it was really intimidating. I'm not gonna lie, like, at first I didn't even look at it. I just kept it in the envelope, and it was just like that brown envelope that just shouldn't be touched or opened. It just had like a stigma immediately. But once I opened it, it's not so bad. I basically have to write down what circumstances were substantially changed, and what I'm asking the court to do. So I mean, honestly, I don't know if you guys watched the show that I was on the other day with Vince and Georgette and Cassandra, but I basically kind of asked, like, how do I tell the judge, the CPS workers, the guardian ad litem, like all of them collectively, that they sucked and didn't do their job? How can I do that and remain tactful and respectful and not not like get me not what I want? So I think, and Mr. Davis, I call him Vince. I like his son. I like his name, Vince. He just kind of like answered specifically to that, but said, you know, you state the facts. You know, that's all I can do is to state the facts. Deidre, what about your sister not allowing you to see your son? Still not allowing me. Still not. And I asked my court-appointed attorney when I asked for that packet to reopen my case. I said, isn't there some kind of like contempt or like, you know, like, I mean, something that I can put forth to like make her do what's court ordered. She can't just do what she wants because she has some kind of vibe about me one day, you know, and now she's literally claiming to me after like, I mean, it's been weeks and weeks and weeks that I've even got to talk to him. And she's claiming that I appeared to be on some kind of substances or messed up or high or drunk or something the last several visits. I'm like, really? That's interesting, because we met at the park, which I have unsupervised visits, so we don't have to meet anywhere. You just need to, you know, make sure that I'm not, you know, that I have my wits about me, that I am not impaired in any way, which I am sober, don't drink anymore. You know, for those of you who don't know, I used to drink maybe 3 years ago, and that was not a pretty person. So can't you just show up with your court paperwork with a sheriff? I bet she'll let that kid go after the sheriff makes her. So, well, see, Connie, that's a good question. That usually is not going to be something that the police will get involved in. They'll tell you to take it up with the courts. Deidre, can't you tell the courts and get some sort of immediate action? Okay, so here's the deal, you guys. So I literally just got out of a relationship with the father that ended in a domestic violence incident, and I mean, it was pretty intense. Now I'm gonna preface this before I say this. My former spouse was never a violent guy. He was never abusive. He you know, he maybe a lot of things, but he was not, you know, violent. The crap and the mud and the ripping apart of your child destroys every, like, I don't know about you guys, but as a mother, it destroys every fiber of my being. You know, I'm blown away when I'm constantly hearing, yes, he's the father. I'm constantly hearing, don't show emotion in court. Well, no, I'm going to show emotion in court. It's just going to be the right emotion. So I'm going to make sure I write down what I'm going to say and read it verbatim. That means word for word, because if I go off on a tangent, then I'll get overly emotional. And what's ridiculous is you're deemed as, oh, you're acting out this way, so you must, you know, that must be who you are and how you react to situations that are stressful, which is ridiculous. I think that humans have emotions, and when children are separated from their parents, such a like tight-knit, close like, I don't even know what to call it, bond, I guess, but that just seems so minuscule, so much more grand than that. It's emotional, and I want to convey that. Angel for the truth. The sheriff will not be involved in civil. Also, the court system is slow as nails. I haven't spoken to my son in 10 weeks now. Oh, I'm so sorry, Angel. You're so right, though. That is so right. They are slow as molasses. Yet, when there was a freaking pandemic, that didn't seem to like slow down my damn case plan tasks or my case coming to judicial review and all that shit. I mean, none of that slowed down because of a global event. Imagine that. Connie says, I'm speaking from experience. Keep the peace, officer. That's what you ask for, and they're so nasty that I promise they'll read your paperwork and involve themselves. LOL. The police in my county will not. Angel for the truth says. Brian Bridewell. Drug tests. What, Brian? Deidre, but her sister can call the shots as far as if she thinks LJ is under the influence. Then her sister has the right to not let LJ see her son, as fortunate as that sounds. Right, but mind you, I have been drug testing regularly and coming out with only my prescription medication, which is one of them that I think shows up, and literally have never had one problem with any visit whatsoever. When the case closed, so prior to the case closing, she was giving me the bare minimum required instead of her being 4 minutes around the corner from me and letting me see him all the time. I was told that I needed to give her money so that she didn't have to work so much. And then she wouldn't have to, I don't even remember how she put it, but it's bullshit. Brian says, it doesn't stop them from giving you drug tests. No, it doesn't. And you know what's ridiculous about that is, which I've been drug testing anyway, but literally if you have if you have a relapse, that I was told by my attorney that would deem me losing my case if I came up with a relapse, which is contradictory, because if you guys do a little bit of digging into, like, I don't know, I think it's like the SAMHSA or whatever, the substance abuse and mental health or something, whatever, and lots of other like good credible resources say that relapse is part of recovery. I was actually honest about like slipping up and having a couple of beers, and it got me some consequences just because I was honest. And I didn't have a bad drug test because I drank like on a Thursday and I was drug tested on like a Tuesday or Wednesday or something. So, because I was honest, I had to do more classes. Deidre, it is not unlawful to be taking drugs and be a parent. I mean, it's frowned upon for sure. Deidre, yes, it does make sense. I know what you mean. Brian, in my case, it just caused delay. That's all it does. That's all it freaking does. Deidre, then take your drug test with your ex at court regarding visitation to the courts and tell them your sister is not fun. Okay, so here's the deal. So when my former spouse went to jail for the domestic violence incident, the landlord of the home I was renting tried to evict me based on the cops being called due to the domestic violence and me being a victim. So he tried to evict me. So I won that round in court. He didn't prevail, and he wasn't able to evict me based on that. Then, so I literally just moved out of my home, like, I don't know, a couple weeks ago. And I had not had hot water since July. It is December. So, I begged, pleaded, and just practically got on my knees for my landlord to fix my hot water heater, but he refused. So I stopped paying rent for the past 2 months because honestly, I was struggling and I was like sad and I was lost and I felt confused and like I'm aware now, like I was going through a really traumatic situation and we had gotten really toxic. And, that's what, started our case originally is, and I think it's a lot of our cases, that I've heard are the kind of the same, is a lot of unaddressed and unmanaged mental health. I know a lot of you guys know when I was 18, I found my mother murdered by my stepfather of 11 years. And then he turned and killed himself. And my clothes were not clean. I had stuff all over me. If that's, I won't get too graphic. I'll leave it at that. But I was 18 years old. I literally went into the Air Force 2 months later. And because it was like the plan, it was what I was doing. So I wasn't going to deviate from the plan, and I literally didn't deal with my PTSD for like many years. I just kind of like kept shoving it down. Like, I have this saying where I feel like I'm just inhaling only. You know what I mean? Without that, I never have that moment. So anyway, I became an alcoholic like in my early 30s, and I started to get, combative and hostile, and I had some arrests, no convictions, but it doesn't matter. Those arrests literally, they happened maybe 5 years ago. My son is 4, and my case has only been open for 2 years, and I was made to do a batter's intervention program for 7 months based on my arrest history from years ago. Now, at first, I was pissed at that because I thought, that doesn't make any sense. Like, that's not fair. Like, why are you punishing me for I was never held or deemed guilty for any of those. B, my son wasn't even around. He wasn't even born. Now that's what I said at first, but I truly I dove into that program 100%. It actually just ended, and I finished the 7 months and then went an additional 4 months voluntarily just because it kept me accountable. And, you know, like, it changed my life. It really did change my life. It was an amazing class, and I highly recommend it for anyone out there who has, you know, deep-seated, you know, anger or hostility or frustration, or, you know, just want to learn how to manage your stresses and you know, navigate like difficulty and interpersonal personal relationships. I mean, it really did have a huge impact on my life. I mean, I'll tell anybody who listens, it changed a lot about me. I mean, like, the old me, you know, you could blink wrong in my direction, and if I was drinking, and I would be very aggressive and hostile. I would poke that bear. You know, and, you know, anger is a secondary emotion. So, little food for thought. Usually, if somebody is showing anger, it's due to something else. So, you know, but anyway, you know, I finished all my classes, but they wanted me to finish the substance abuse class. So I did the substance abuse class, and then I was honest about relapsing and having a few beers, because it's important to me to have and maintain integrity and to be honest with myself and to my providers. Because if I'm not being honest with them and to me, then I'm truly not going to elicit change, which is what my child deserves and what I deserve. Now, I wasn't initially, or for the most part, the issue with CPS. I was told that I failed to protect based on my former spouse's erratic behavior. Well, to explain him, he is like, whoever you think that the poster child of ADHD is, X them out and put my former spouse there. It's him. He carries the title. I've never seen so much energy. I mean, it's truly impeccable. But he literally is nonstop from the minute he wakes up to the minute he goes to bed. And he's very eclectic. And so he, you know, he rubs most people off nicely, but then he tends to aggravate with his incessant chatter. So, you know, they were concerned about his behavior, and he had an arrest, and they like took him to the cross and hung him out to dry because of this arrest. And, you know, then they tell him, or really they tell me, that he couldn't go home to the house that I had just gotten for us. We were homeless after COVID. I mean, we lived in hotels, but for like 14 months, because I mean, you guys know, it was a pandemic. It was horrible. And finally we get a house, and he's about ready to get out of jail. And they say to me, well, if you want more visitation and you want to see your son and bring him home faster, then he can't live with you when he gets out of jail. So basically, they told me not to be with my child's father. Now, I know we had kind of like a lot of issues going on, and a lot of things to deal with. But who the hell were they to tell me to leave my spouse, who I promised to, I made a commitment to stand by him, to do everything I could to make sure that we made it, that, you know, and that was his promise to me. So I was like really flabbergasted by them telling me that. But you know what? My son needs me he wants me. Which one is more important? You know, so we agreed that, you know, that was that. Like, our son needed to come home. And, you know, once again, they throw more stuff on you. More stuff, you know, like it just, it's like never ending. I mean, you know, I finished everything in my case plan, and then they tacked on this last minute stuff, and I had to, it was very lengthy because for several reasons I won't get into, but it was very lengthy. So I called my lawyer and I say, hey, you know, my sister's not letting me see my son. And you know, when he was 3, he just turned 4. When he was 3, he literally called me on the phone by himself and said, shh, shh, she's sleeping. And he was all being secret. Deidre, she has him calling her mommy. Which is crazy. Deidre says, hold on. Then they tell you to leave, spouse and child can come home, but that is clearly not the case. It's reunification for a reason. They did the same thing to me, but I stood my ground. See, and that's what I was going to say, is literally I was getting the bare minimum, and then the case closes, and I'm seeing him 4 or 5 times a week for hours. We're left to go wherever we want, and no big deal. I'm seeing him all the time. Good stuff. Now that they have moved and she refuses to give me the address, she refuses to video chat with me. She claims her camera on her phone is broken. I said, well, don't you have a front and a rear camera? She says, this is just tonight. She says, well, that's what happens when you let a toddler run around with your phone. That's interesting, but every time he wanted to hold the phone and walk and have a video chat with me when it was working, you wouldn't let him. But yet your phone's broken because you've been letting him. It's a really crappy situation, unfortunately, because I am not close with my sibling anymore. Like, she has just really stops at nothing to make everything so much worse. And you know, she lies, and the case workers just eat it up as if it's like a weight in gold. You know what I mean? Which is crazy to me. Hearsay is allowed in dependency court. But not if, I think Vince said, not if the caseworker does it, but only on the other side. It's ridiculous. Hold on, you guys. I gotta get a charger, or I'm gonna lose you. Hold on, Deidre's going off the chain. He's the father of my 3 sons and my husband for the past 13 years. The name of the game is reunification. You know what, Deidre? You're so right. Because I literally never lost the goal of reunification. It's been reunification this whole entire time. Now none of us have each other. We've all been ripped the hell apart. Like, how is that called reunification or justice? I don't know. Oh, hold on one second. So I am so frustrated because now I'm out of the house that I had, and you know, I'm scared, you know, because I went through this separation of my family and my child being kept from me, and you know, my My former sweetheart is, lost in like Crazyville, and I just like, I lost my mind. You know what I mean? And I know you guys can relate to that. It's a very, very emotional time. And like, I did the best that I could. And what I love is that I asked every single one of my providers. So all of my case plan providers, I asked if they saw, noticed, and would, without a doubt, be able to claim on the stand if subpoenaed, was there a significant change made? Yes. Stellar reviews all down the line. So, that being said, I'm coming. I'm coming fast, and I don't care who tries to stand in my way. Because oh yeah, Deidre, that's another thing you mentioned. She has to wait. My mom is now the legal guardian for my 2 older boys, and she has and will still receive $2,300 a month. Yeah, my sister does too, and now she's trying to get me for down payment of child support because I literally couldn't afford the $300, almost $400 they were trying to get out of me when she gets paid from the state. Like, why the hell am I even doing that when I was helping pay for his clothes, his childcare? Like, and the judge told me those were all gifts. I'm like, what? How is that not like support? So whatever, I'm trying to navigate it the best I can, best I know how, and that's all I can do. Listen, you guys, I gotta cut it short because I don't have the adapter for my phone charger, and my phone's gonna die, and I don't want to just disappear on you guys. You guys just remember to stay strong. Get some support. If you don't want support, then argue with your walls, kick a box in your house, do something that gets all of these frustrations and just sadness out somehow, because you don't want to harbor that, and you don't want that to be deep within you. Trust me, I'm telling you from experience. I am really excited that I am reopening my case, but I'm nervous because I'm not in the spot that I wish I would have been. But I know that I've done monumental changes in my life, and I wasn't even really who they were worried about. But I took accountability and I made changes, and it shows, and I am coming confidently like a steamroller. What's worse than that? Jackhammer, pile driver, whatever. Deidre, yeah, and now my mom is threatening me that if I dare try and do my taxes and claim my kids, she will take me to jail. Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's all about money for them. That's their little trophy prizes. It's not about, hey, like, the kids are hurting too. Like, when is it ever going to be about the damn kids to anyone? And somehow we're deemed not, like, as the parents, having the best interest of the child. The court is. But hey, you guys, I'm gonna pop off of here. Thank you so much for coming on. I'll try to make sure I'm not in my car next time. You guys have a great night, and come see me next Tuesday at let's see, it's 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thanks again, you guys. Come see me. Bye. Bye, Deidre.